Sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes quietly, in honesty and courage, and in the choice to stay. When I first moved in with my new roommate, I thought it would be simple. Pay rent, share chores, maybe watch a few games together. But I never imagined that living with him would completely change how I saw myself, my relationships, and even my future. He was confident, kind, and full of life. Someone who seemed to understand people without even trying. I didn't know then that his presence would challenge everything I believed about connection, trust, and who I wanted to become. His name was Jasper. For Leo, change was never easy. He liked routines, quiet mornings, organized shelves, predictable days. But when his landlord suddenly raised the rent, his sense of order started to crumble. Night after night, he scrolled through endless housing ads. Too expensive, too far, already taken. Just as he was about to give up, one ad stood out. Roommate wanted. 2-bedroom downtown. Affordable rent. Easygoing guy. The photos showed a warm, sunlit place with hardwood floors and big windows. It looked like a fresh start. Without hesitation, Leo sent a message. That's how he met Jasper. They agreed to meet at a small coffee shop near campus. Leo arrived early, nervously tugging at his jacket sleeves. When Jasper walked in, people seemed to notice him immediately. Relaxed, friendly, confident. He had a way of making the whole room feel lighter. "You must be Leo," Jasper said with a bright smile. "And you're Jasper," Leo replied, trying to sound calm. They talked for hours. Jasper had recently graduated and was working part-time while figuring out his next steps. He loved sports, music, and weekend game nights with friends. Leo shared that he was studying literature, something Jasper found both funny and fascinating. Despite their differences, they clicked instantly. Jasper's humor broke through Leo's quiet nature, while Leo's thoughtfulness grounded Jasper's restless energy. By the end of their coffee, Jasper leaned back and said, "I like your vibe." "Want the room?" Leo blinked in surprise. "Yeah, I'd love to," and just like that, they became roommates. The first week was full of small adjustments, unpacking boxes, learning each other's habits, turning that small apartment into something that felt like home. Leo's room was calm and organized, lined with books. Jasper's space was lively and chaotic. A guitar leaning against the wall, sports gear in the corner, laundry half done. Yet somehow it all balanced perfectly. Leo didn't realize it then, but this was the start of a new chapter, one that would teach him about acceptance, friendship, and the courage it takes to truly know yourself. Their apartment soon reflected both of them. Leo kept the kitchen spotless. Jasper's sneakers somehow always ended up by the couch. Still, it worked. They fell into an easy rhythm. Leo cooked, Jasper washed the dishes, and bills were always on time. Some nights they'd stay up talking for hours after a movie, sharing thoughts about life, music, and the mistakes they'd made. But something began to shift inside Leo. It wasn't about attraction. Not exactly. It was about the way Jasper lived, free, confident, unbothered by what others thought. He seemed so at ease in his own skin, and that stirred something in Leo, a mix of admiration, confusion, and reflection. Leo had always known who he was, but he'd also learned to keep parts of himself hidden. Around Jasper, those walls began to crack. Every joke, every quiet moment, every small kindness made it harder to ignore what was changing inside him. He tried to brush it off, focusing on school and work, pretending not to notice the thoughts that made him uneasy. But you can only hide from your heart for so long. One rainy night, unable to sleep, Leo stepped quietly into the living room. The apartment was calm, rain tapping against the windows, the soft hum of the city outside. Jasper was asleep on the couch, peaceful and unguarded. It wasn't the sight itself, it was what it meant. For the first time in years, Leo felt something pure. Not confusion, not desire, and just truth. He realized this wasn't about anyone else. It was about facing the parts of himself he'd kept in the dark. That night became a quiet turning point. His pulse quickened, a wave of emotion rising before he could stop it. Then Jasper stirred. "Can't sleep?" Jasper's voice was low and drowsy. Leo froze. Just needed some water," he said softly. Jasper smiled faintly. "Guess I crashed after the game." "Couch isn't too bad." Leo nodded quickly. "Right, well, good night." He slipped back to his room, heart pounding. Leaning against the door, he tried to steady his breath. Something had shifted, subtle but real. The next morning, Jasper acted like nothing happened, cheerful as always, joking over coffee while Leo tried to mask the storm inside. But for Leo, everything felt different. The air carried a quiet tension, unspoken but undeniable. He told himself it was nothing, just an awkward moment. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. He threw himself into work, but emotions have a way of finding cracks. Every shared laugh, every glance, every simple act of care felt heavier, like it meant more than it should. It wasn't about attraction anymore. It was about truth, about being seen fully for the first time. Weeks passed. Their routine continued. Friday nights with takeout and long movies. One evening, as the screen flickered in the dark, Leo realized how safe he felt beside Jasper, and how that safety scared him. For Leo, safety had always meant distance. But with Jasper, it meant closeness, something that forced him to face himself. That night, when Jasper fell asleep halfway through the movie, Leo turned off the TV and sat there for a moment. He looked at his friend, not with longing, but with gratitude. For the first time, he wasn't ashamed of what he felt. He simply accepted it. Still, the quiet pull remained, that invisible thread drawing him closer no matter how hard he tried to stay composed. Days turned to weeks. Jasper was everywhere, leaning on the counter while Leo cooked, sitting beside him while pretending to need help, filling every space with warmth and laughter. Each small gesture, a pat on the shoulder, a teasing smile, carried an energy Leo couldn't explain. One evening, as Leo chopped vegetables, Jasper leaned across the counter. "You've been quiet lately," he said, his voice gentle but curious. "What's going on?" Leo kept his eyes on the cutting board. "Nothing. Just school." "You sure?" Jasper asked softly. "You've been distant." Leo hesitated, then said quietly, "I've just had a lot on my mind." Jasper nodded slowly, his expression softening, the kind of look that said, "I'm here, even if you can't tell me yet." "Hey, whatever it is, it's okay. You don't have to keep everything bottled up." Something in Jasper's voice, gentle, steady, hit Leo harder than he expected. He wanted to explain, to speak the mess of thoughts tangled inside him, but the words wouldn't come. So he just nodded. Jasper gave a faint smile and let it go, changing the subject to dinner plans. But that small conversation stayed with Leo long after. Over the next few days, everything felt both normal and not. Jasper kept reaching out, inviting Leo to join his friends for a casual basketball game, cheering him on, clapping him on the back after every attempt. His energy was infectious. Later that evening, as they collapsed onto the couch after the game, Jasper laughed. "You know, we actually made a good team out there." Leo smiled, breathless but relaxed. For the first time in weeks, the tension inside him eased. Maybe it wasn't about labeling what was happening or running from it. Maybe it was about learning to exist in it, to accept that connection doesn't always need to be defined. The turning point came on a stormy evening. Rain lashed against the windows, thunder rolled across the city, and for a moment the lights flickered before steadying again. They sat quietly in the living room, the sound of the storm filling the silence between them. Jasper held a drink in his hand while Leo cradled a cup of tea. Then Jasper spoke, his voice softer than usual. "Do you ever feel like you don't fit into the person people expect you to be?" Leo looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" Jasper's eyes stayed on the rain. "I don't know. I've always done what people expected. acted how they thought I should, played the role they gave me. But lately, I've started wondering who I really am underneath all that. The words hung heavy in the air. Leo could feel the weight behind them, a truth Jasper had been carrying for a long time. I've never told anyone this, Jasper continued quietly. But sometimes, I don't even know if I understand myself anymore. Leo's heart pounded. He wanted to say something comforting, but nothing came. Jasper finally turned toward him. Does that sound weird? Leo shook his head. No, it sounds honest. For a moment, Jasper smiled faintly, relief flickering across his face. The storm raged outside, but inside, the silence between them softened. Not empty, but full of unspoken understanding. For weeks, Leo had struggled to make sense of what he felt. The confusion, the connection, the constant pull between them. But now he realized he wasn't the only one searching for clarity. Jasper leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. Can I ask you something? Leo nodded. Do you feel that too? That connection? Leo hesitated, fear and hope colliding inside him. Finally, he nodded. Yes, Jasper exhaled as though releasing something he'd held for far too long. Good, he said softly, because I don't want to pretend anymore. Outside, thunder rolled again, but inside, something had shifted. The storm wasn't just outside their window. It had passed through them, clearing the air and leaving something fragile, honest, and real. Leo's heart pounded so hard it drowned out the thunder. For so long, he'd buried his feelings, convinced they'd never be returned. And yet here Jasper was. Not running, not judging, just staying. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was heavy but peaceful, full of understanding that didn't need words. Jasper looked at him, really looked, and said quietly, I don't know what all of this means yet. I just know I don't want to pretend anymore. I want to be honest, with myself and with you. The words hit Leo like light breaking through clouds. Something inside him finally settled, a calm he hadn't known in months. I understand, he whispered. Whatever happens next, we'll figure it out together. Jasper smiled, small but genuine. A smile that carried relief, trust, and something unspoken. Outside, the storm softened to a gentle drizzle. They stayed there side by side on the couch, talking quietly as the night faded into morning. For the first time in a long while, Leo didn't feel alone. The world was still uncertain, still full of questions. But now there was someone beside him willing to face it, too. When dawn crept through the blinds, painting the room gold, Leo realized something simple and undeniable. This was the start of a new chapter. Not perfect, not clear, but real. And that was enough. The morning after the storm felt different, lighter, like the world itself had taken a deep breath. Leo woke slowly, the memory of last night washing over him in quiet waves. The storm had passed, but something between them had shifted forever. When Jasper walked into the kitchen, still sleepy but smiling, there was no awkwardness, just an unspoken understanding, a kind of peace. They talked softly over breakfast, careful but honest. Neither pretended things were the same, yet neither wanted to run from what had changed. But outside their small apartment, the world hadn't changed with them. Later that day, Jasper's friends dropped by. Their laughter filled the room as always. To them, nothing was different. But to Leo, everything was. When one of the guys teased Jasper about living with the quiet one, Jasper laughed it off like usual, a little too quickly, a little too loud. Leo understood, but part of him still ached. That night, when the door closed and silence returned, Jasper found him in the kitchen, his voice soft. Hey, you know I didn't mean anything by it, right? Leo nodded, forcing a smile. Yeah, I know. But deep down, he wondered if the world would ever let them be fully honest, or if truth was something they'd always have to hide. Outside, the last drops of rain tapped against the glass. Inside, two hearts learned that understanding each other was only the beginning. Facing the world would take something even greater. Courage. Something had changed between them, not in how they cared, but in how the world around them reacted. Jasper's friends joked, never seeing the quiet strength between them, the unspoken trust that had grown from honesty. But when Jasper laughed along with their jokes, Leo felt something twist inside. That night, he finally spoke. "You laughed with them," Leo said quietly. "You let them make it sound like we're just a joke." Jasper's face softened. "I didn't mean to. I'm just scared of what they'll think," Leo sighed. "I get it. But if you always hide who you are, you'll never know who's really standing beside you." Silence followed, heavy but real. Jasper nodded slowly. "You're right. I'll try. I just need time." The weeks ahead tested both of them. The pressure from outside, people's opinions, old relationships, expectations grew louder. But through it all, Leo learned something powerful. When you live in fear of judgment, you lose sight of who you are. That night, as the city lights flickered outside their window, Leo made a quiet promise to himself to choose honesty over fear and compassion over silence, because real connection, whether friendship, love, or loyalty, can only survive in truth. Jasper leaned against the counter, watching Leo stir his coffee. "What's up with you?" he asked softly. "Nothing," Leo muttered, though his voice betrayed him. "Come on," Jasper pressed gently. "Talk to me." Leo turned, frustration flashing in his eyes. "You laughed with them, Jasper. You let them make fun of us, like it's all some kind of joke." Jasper's face fell. "Leo, I didn't mean it like that. You just didn't want them to know," Leo said quietly. "You didn't want them to see who we really are." The words hung heavy. Jasper rubbed the back of his neck, searching for words that wouldn't come. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I didn't mean to make you feel that way, I guess. I'm just scared." Leo's anger faded into something softer. He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "I get it. But if this really means something, we can't hide forever." Jasper nodded, eyes full of conflict. "I'll try. Just give me time." Leo wanted to believe him, and he really did. But doubt lingered. Days passed, and the outside pressures grew heavier. One afternoon, Jasper's phone buzzed. His ex had texted. Leo noticed the hesitation in Jasper's face as he replied. He didn't ask, but his heart tightened. Later, Jasper mentioned meeting her for coffee. "Are you getting back together?" Leo asked quietly. Jasper shook his head. "No, I just don't want to be rude." "Then why do you look guilty every time she texts you?" Jasper sighed. "Because I don't know what to tell her. I don't even know what to tell myself." "I don't know what this is," Leo's voice cracked. "It's whatever we choose to make it." But Jasper didn't answer. His silence said more than words ever could. The tension grew. Inside their apartment, things still felt warm. Laughter, late-night talks, quiet moments that felt real. But outside, Jasper built walls again. He laughed too loudly at jokes that cut too close. Pretended nothing had changed. For Leo, it was a battle between happiness and heartbreak. Then came the night of the party. Leo hadn't wanted to go, but Jasper insisted. The room buzzed with laughter and noise. Jasper moved easily through the crowd, while Leo stayed on the edge, unseen. Then one of Jasper's friends, Clara, laughed and said loudly, "Man, I don't know how you live with him without losing your mind. He's way too quiet for you." Laughter followed. Jasper forced a smile, but Leo saw the guilt flash in his eyes. Then Clara added the words that cut deepest. "I mean, no offense, but you're way out of his league." The group laughed again, and Jasper joined in. Leo's chest tightened. The room blurred. Without a word, he walked out into the cold night alone. When Jasper came home later, Leo sat on the couch, staring at the blank TV. "Why did you leave?" Jasper asked quietly. Leo looked up, his eyes full of hurt. because I can't do this anymore. I can't sit there and watch you laugh while people tear me down, while they treat what we have like it's nothing. Leo, No, Leo interrupted, standing. I'm not asking you to be perfect or to tell the world. I just need honesty from you and for yourself. Do you even want this? Or am I just something you're afraid to admit matters? Jasper froze. His lips parted, but no words came. Finally, he whispered, I don't know if I can be what you need. Those words cut deeper than anything else. Leo's voice broke. Then maybe we shouldn't do this. Jasper's eyes widened. Wait, that's not what I meant. I'm just scared. Scared of losing people, of disappointing everyone, of not knowing who I really am. But I'm not scared of you. You're the only thing that feels right. Leo's anger softened into quiet pain. I just need to know you won't run when it gets hard, he whispered. I won't, Jasper said, his voice trembling. Just give me time, please. Leo didn't know if that promise was enough, but he wanted to believe it. That night, they lay side by side in silence, their thoughts heavy but their hearts still holding on. Outside, the world was uncertain, but inside, for one fragile moment, there was peace. Because even through fear, doubt, and mistakes, Leo still believed in what they had. And deep down, Jasper did too. Leo had been nervous all day. He didn't know how to act or what to say, but Jasper had smiled and told him, just be yourself. Nothing had really changed, except that everything had. The evening began easily. Laughter, snacks, and loud cheers over the game. But halfway through, Jasper did something small that nearly stopped Leo's heart. Without thinking, he rested his hand lightly on Leo's knee. For a second, the room froze. One of Jasper's friends, James, noticed. He raised an eyebrow, smirking. Since when are you two this close? He joked. The laughter died before it could even start. Jasper hesitated, just for a heartbeat, and Leo's stomach twisted, waiting for the usual. Waiting for him to pull away, to laugh it off, to pretend. But he didn't. Jasper looked right at James, then at Leo, and said quietly, since recently. The room went silent. James blinked, then gave a low whistle. Well, didn't see that coming. He shook his head, then turned back to the TV as if nothing had happened. The moment passed, but not for Leo. Those two words echoed in his chest like a heartbeat. Since recently. Simple, honest, without apology. For the first time, Jasper had acknowledged them, out loud to someone else. And that meant more than Leo could ever say. Later that night, after everyone had left and the apartment was quiet, Leo turned to him. You didn't have to say that, he whispered. Say what? Jasper asked, confused. Tell them about us. You could have just laughed it off. Jasper's expression softened. He stepped closer, his thumb brushing Leo's cheek. I didn't want to laugh it off, he said softly. I'm done hiding how I feel. Leo's breath caught. Aren't you scared? About what people will think? Jasper hesitated, his eyes honest, afraid, but steady. Yeah, he said. I am scared, but I'm more scared of pretending. I've spent too much of my life trying to fit into boxes that were never meant for me. I don't want to live like that anymore. Not with you. The words hit Leo like a wave, warm, heavy, and real. All the loneliness, the doubt, the fear, it melted in that single moment. He didn't say anything. He just stepped forward and wrapped Jasper in his arms. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was just right. That night, sitting together in the quiet glow of the TV, Leo finally exhaled. For the first time, they weren't hiding. The weeks that followed weren't easy. There were awkward questions, confused stares, and moments when the world felt uncertain. But through it all, Jasper didn't run. He stayed beside Leo, honest, open, unafraid. And for Leo, that meant everything, because love isn't about perfection. It's about courage. The courage to be seen, to be real, to hold on, even when it's hard, and through it all, Jasper stayed steady. He held Leo's hand in public for the first time during a quiet walk in the park, his grip firm, unapologetic, even as a few people stared. He introduced Leo not as a roommate, but as someone special, someone who mattered. At night, when the world grew still, Jasper's words eased every lingering doubt. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me," he whispered one evening, his voice rough with emotion. "I didn't expect this. I didn't plan it. But I can't imagine my life without you now." Leo felt tears gather in his eyes. He leaned closer, forehead against Jasper's. "You don't have to," he murmured. "Because I'm not going anywhere." Spring turned into summer, bringing a calm neither of them had known before. The apartment that once felt like shared space had become a home, filled with laughter, warmth, and the quiet peace of being fully seen. One warm July evening, they sat together on the fire escape, watching city lights shimmer in the distance. Jasper had his arm around Leo, holding him close as they shared a bottle of cheap wine and an easy silence. "You know," Jasper said after a long pause, "if someone told me a year ago I'd be here like this, with you, I would have laughed." Leo smiled, resting his head on Jasper's shoulder. "And now?" he asked softly. Jasper kissed the top of his hair, his voice calm and certain. "Now I can't imagine being anywhere else." Leo closed his eyes, listening to the rhythm of Jasper's heartbeat beneath his ear. The doubts and fears hadn't vanished. They probably never would. But they didn't matter anymore. What mattered was this. The boy who once seemed unreachable was now the one reaching for his hand without hesitation. The one who chose him every single day. Months later, Leo would look back on that stormy night, the night everything changed, as the moment honesty broke through fear, and friendship turned into something deeper. Life wasn't perfect. They still argued, struggled, and faced questions about the future. But every challenge reminded them of one truth. They were stronger together. That night, on the fire escape, with city lights glowing all around them, Jasper squeezed Leo's hand and whispered the words Leo had been waiting to hear. "I love you." It was soft, but certain, like the beginning of a promise. Leo's breath caught. He looked up, eyes shining. "Say it again." Jasper smiled, his voice steady and warm. "I love you." Leo laughed through his tears and whispered back, "I love you too." And in that moment, surrounded by the hum of the city and the endless stretch of sky above, Leo knew he had found something real. Not just love, but home. Two people once afraid of who they were had found the courage to be seen, to belong, and to build something that would last. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories don't start with perfection. They start with honesty and the simple decision to stay.